What's up, gamers? Today at Game Xfinity, we're going to talk about 8 news stories in and around the gaming universe. First up, let's talk about Kojima's possible next game. Most likely going to be Death Stranding, but the only news we really have about whatever the next game is that it's going to star Ella Fanning, which is which was in Maleficent and a couple of other movies. Kojima's no stranger to getting well-known actors and actresses into his games, like Death Stranding, even some voice work, I believe, in Metal Gear Solid. Just to read through this write-up from Game Informer, it says Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions have revealed that Aya Fanning will star in the studio's next game, which remains unannounced. And they note here that we'll likely learn more at one of the two remaining packs, which one already passed. So we have another one going on in December 2nd through December 4th. And if it's not announced there's a good chance it's going to be announced at the Game Awards, since Jeff Keighley hosts that, and Kojima usually announces something at the Game Awards. As you can see here, there's a tweet that he made, and most people think it's Death Stranding 2 because there was another tweet from, I believe, the producer of, or a producer in Kojima Productions that hashtagged Death Stranding 2. Then they had to remove that for reasons, apparently. So, whatever Kojima's working on next, I'll be excited to learn more about it. And most likely it's going to be, if not announced, then shown at the Game Awards. They might do something at this PAX in early December, but probably it'll be officially shown off at the Game Awards itself. So let's move on to the next story here. So we're looking at Valve trademarking a new game possibly called Neon Prime. It is trademarked under Game Software, and let me just pull up some more information here real quick. Alright, so it's noted here that it was filed under Goods and Services section as far as trademarks, and that is generally for games, but can also include some more competitive focused things that I think they're talking about. What's important to note is that the Valve co-founder and CEO Gabe Newell said last year that the company had multiple games in development and was keen to make more single-player experiences following Half-Life Alyx's release in March 2022. And before that, I think it had been at least like 5 plus, maybe even 8 years since they released like Portal 2. And I think the direct quote here is saying, "We definitely have games in development that we are going to be announcing. It's fun to ship games," he told News One. So they're definitely looking to pump out more games. It doesn't look like Half-Life Alyx was just a one and done kind of thing, so that's something to look forward to. Even though I haven't played Half-Life Alyx, I did enjoy the Portal games, and the narrative focus for the Half-Life games in general kind of fits in line with that. So I'm all for narrative-driven adventures with good, solid gameplay, which everyone says Half-Life Alyx had in spades. I don't think there's anything else really to talk about there, so let's just transition on to the next story then. So now we're looking at a fun little congregation here. This is something I put in just because I thought it would be interesting. So, GamesIndustry.biz has Ubisoft, PlayStation, EA, and Microsoft developers joining in for a academic or an academy student event. Students can watch masterclass, speak to industry talent, and take part in roundtables later this month. And this write-up comes from GameIndustry.biz themselves. I think the last... What was that last one here? 1 second. The last story, the previous story about Valve was by Video Games Chronicle, just an FYI. So go to those websites if you want more detailed information on them. So I'm just reading the highlights of what I see here. So back onto this games industry free video game event for students. It's going to feature expert talent from some of the world's biggest game creators. And it says that the GI Academy Live takes place within a special Discord and will feature roundtable sessions, keynotes, masterclasses, plus the chance to speak with game industry professionals one-to-one. The event is completely free, courtesy of their partner Creative Assembly, and students can sign up with a link here in the story at GameIndustry.biz. The developers encompass disciplines such as game design, audio, visual effects, concept art, character design, programming, UI, which is user interface, voice acting, business development, production, community management, and writing. Writing is one I would probably be the most interested in, but yeah, if you're anywhere at all in the industry of making games, you might want to look at this. Or even if you're just curious, it's probably going to be fun to watch. That's why I included it in here. They have a listing of the talks planned with timestamps, so you know when to look out for what you're particularly interested in, because they have a lot, so you're probably not going to want to, or you're probably not going to be able to look through all of it. So this takes place, let's see, on the 26th, October the 26th, the Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. That looks like a fun time if you're interested in that in the slightest. Let's switch up gears to the next story here. So here we're looking at Crystal Dynamics, looking for feedback on, or try to gauge the interest of the Legacy of Kain series. Let me just get to the details here. So Crystal Dynamics is seeking feedback on Legacy of Kain with a view to potentially revive the long dormant franchise. It's noted recently they launched a survey asking players what they'd like to see should the Gothic Vampire series Legacy of Kain make a comeback. Respondents are asked to choose whether they'd prefer the next game in the Legacy of Kain series to be single-player title, a multiplayer co-op game, multiplayer PvP, or one of other 5 genres. I believe one of them was also asked, they also asked if they prefer a series reboot to enhance or remaster some of the older games. That's the one I would probably like before they get into new games, or especially anything co-op focused, as story was probably the main driving force of these older games. On that note, before I get too excited about anything that they're working on with the Legacy of Kain series, I would point out that the original entries in the series, Blood Omen, was developed by Silicon Knights under the direction of Denis Dyack and published by Crystal Dynamics. So the majority of the people of the main creative force behind that aren't there, at least the ones that were in the first Legacy of Kain. And then even the follow-up, Soul Reaver, which was in 1999, that was developed by Crystal Dynamics, but it was directed by Amy Hennig, the former writer and director of Naughty Dog's Uncharted series. So talk about having a big narrative focus. Amy Hennig definitely played a crucial, foundational part of those stories. So without either of these two, I really have my doubts on how good any kind of new story from the current Crystal Dynamics team would be. It definitely wouldn't be anything like the old games, I think. Some people might find that interesting if they want like similar treatment to what they did to the Tomb Raider series. I personally would not want that. So while it's cool to see them asking fans if they want to see Legacy of Kain and how they would like to see it make a comeback, I don't really have much faith in Crystal Dynamics as a whole. And I'm trying to speed through these stories a bit faster. The last video I made was like 45 minutes or something, so we're going to try to keep this a bit shorter. So just moving on to the next story here. Okay. So this is more on the PC side of things, which I myself own a Mac and am a more console-focused gamer. But I figured it's still important to let this information out there to highlight this. So Nvidia says that this write-up is by The Verge, by the way, and the previous one was by Video Games Chronicles as well. So Soul Reaver, you can find that at Video Games Chronicles, and this here Nvidia on information on Nvidia is from The Verge. So they're stating Nvidia has paused launching its upcoming 12GB RTX 4080 graphics card, which is the lower end model, the less expensive model of the two. I thought they were going to release 3, but they're only listing 2 here. They're stating, after originally unveiling the 12GB RTX 4080 last month alongside the much more powerful 16GB model, Nvidia now admits it messed up with the naming. And they're citing the naming as being too confusing or just not what they wanted, so that they're actually going to delay the launch, which I don't really buy that as the full reason, but that's what they noted. It's also stated here that the RTX 4080 16GB model will debut next month as originally scheduled for the price of $1,199. And Nvidia hasn't revealed when it plans to relaunch the 12GB model under a different name, but they do state that they're planning on relaunch, or still launching it, I should say, just with an updated name so it's less confusing. So yeah, if you had pre-orders for that, I'm not sure how that works out, but hopefully everything will be fine. Next up, we have information on Activision Blizzard's online, I guess, terms of service. They're basically requiring a phone number moving forward, it seems. Let me just pull up the details on that. So this is from the Video Games Chronicle website also. They're stating in the article, unlike Overwatch 2, Modern Warfare 2's mobile phone requirements is PC only. Still requiring a phone number though. More specifically, it says that the SMS policy for Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 on Battle.net is the same as the one that has been in place for Warzone on PC since May 2020, and that applies to Steam as well. The two-factor authentication system was also added to the PC version of 2019's Modern Warfare this August. And I haven't heard any major complaints. It's the console requiring a phone number, I think, is getting the most attention. It's noted here, or they added, the SMS requirement for games access is used for security purposes only, and Call of Duty does not use SMS verification data for marketing purposes. Now, while they state that, they can also update the policy whenever the hell they feel like it, just like how they're requiring the phone number now. I think, so I have an issue with this, and I have several issues. The biggest issue, I think, not necessarily from the marketing perspective, potentially, but that you're going to have a phone number tied to everything eventually. It looks like they're trying to basically have your identity linked to everything in the long scheme of things. In this specific case, to games, their online infrastructure, which they say isn't for marketing, but they could very well use it for other purposes, though. It doesn't say it's not for analytical data. So maybe they should give us a discount or something, and I might feel less salty about it. But another thing that I worry about is, just like how Blizzard has had issues with censorship and concerning Chinese things, like, what was it, the Taiwan issue, or like the issue with Blitzchung like a couple of years back. And if a person says something pro-Taiwanese, anti-China, and Blizzard Activision wants to censor them and perhaps somehow mess with the phone number or whatever, it's more and more possible now that that whatever censorship or whatever consequences or punishment they try to bring down on you is going to be more effective. They're actually going to be able to affect you as a person with your phone number and branch to many different services, not just whatever specific game they had an issue with at the time. So yeah, that's my main concern with this, actually, is more down the censorship route. And it looks like they're going to have this issue or this requirement for all their games moving forward, since it's been affecting Warzone, at least on the PC side, since May 2022. That I did not know, and I haven't heard any big issues about it. Like I said, it's mainly the fact it's coming to the consoles that this story even got popular, I think. Because it's so weird to have to enter in your phone number to your console. But yeah, I think, let me see, there's more information written up by Inside Gaming. This is Tom Henderson's website. They added, it's going to be specific phone numbers. The article was updated several days ago talking about the accounts requiring a phone number. According to the article, mobile phones with prepaid plans might not work with a phone number notification service, meaning players will pay as you go, or with pay as you go contracts, might not be able to play these types of Activision Blizzard games anymore. Any mobile phone in a supported country with a data plan and that is not prepaid or VoIP number can be used with this service, the article reads. And then it's also noted here, the article states that Battle.net phone notifications are designed for text-enabled mobile phones, and they list some more restrictions, or yeah, I would say restrictions. Messaging apps like iMessage from iOS or WhatsApp are not supported, so you can't just generate random phone numbers through applications. They'll look to see if you're paying for service with one of your cellular providers, it looks like. And that's what I mean by branching off into more things than just the game you're working with, because they're doing all these verifications. It's not just within the company. They're checking your cellular providers now. It says mobile phones with prepaid plans may not work with the phone notification service, and phone notifications cannot be used with voice over IP, and voice over IP numbers that are transferred to a local provider are not eligible for that service. So yeah, that just doesn't sit right with me, doesn't sound like a good trend moving forward in the game industry. So it's been going on since 2020 on the PC side of things, but I really don't like it. If you don't like it either, I would suggest letting them know, maybe by not purchasing their games, or just maybe sending them some feedback somehow. I should try to look into that and start leaving links for stuff like that. But yeah, for now, let's just move on to the next story. 1 second here. So next we're going to be talking about Square Enix and how they are closing down yet another live service, another failed live service that they launched. This one is Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, and the write-up comes from GameIndustry.biz again. So this game is going to go offline in January 2023, and I believe right now the game hasn't been alive even for a year. It's noted in the article, Square Enix's mobile RPG shuts down after about a year. And Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier will be ending its service as of January 11th, we mentioned that. More importantly, they also are going to end Babylon's Fall on February the 27th of next year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the other game that they had. I believe it was Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise. Well, that might not be completely off an online game, but I can see the server shutting down for that also, given another couple of months at this rate, maybe in March. So they get January, February, and March shutting down these online servers. Now, the thing I wanted to point out here is I think it's mentioned in a different article, or Square Enix has mentioned in an interview somewhere else, that they don't intend to stop trying to get a live service to work. And they kind of just keep shoehorning it into whatever they can. I guess they try to make something new with Babylon's Fall, but that again is from a studio that's way more single player focused. So I just don't think the concept was really well thought out. And it seems like Square Enix is going to continue wasting resources on these kinds of games. I really hope they do not. But as of now, whatever they had in the works, I think they still have a couple of, at least one other Final Fantasy game, like some kind of anthology-like game. I think it's a Final Fantasy VII in that universe. So yeah, once that comes out, whether or not that does well, hopefully these games, these more like Battle Royale or just strictly online games fail, then Square Enix will refocus its resources. I think they kind of said they were going to do that already, but they still want to try with the online space. If they're going to keep on trying to get something multiplayer to work, I think they need to change up how they're conceptualizing these multiplayer games. Final Fantasy, there's nothing inherently multiplayer about the idea, so just having like chocobos and the first soldier theme around it, the Final Fantasy VII theme around it, aesthetically, I don't think is enough. Even if they want to transition to any other Final Fantasy and make that work. I also don't think the action RPG genre is a good genre for multiplayer, which is like the other type of game that they make. So yeah, I don't know what I would tell them to do, but well, as far as making a multiplayer game, I don't know what advice I would have other than don't, and maybe just stick to like DLC or expansions or something like that. I don't know, maybe look to something like Genshin Impact and those kind of games. Although I really do hate gacha in principle anyways. I've probably spent like $80+ in Genshin Impact, even though I haven't played it in a while. So that's it for this story. Let's move on to the next. Next is a slightly more positive story. Nintendo finishes purchasing a animation studio. Let me pull up the details for myself here. So Nintendo completes Dynamo Pictures acquisition, relaunches as Nintendo Pictures. Just to read the article from, again, gamesindustry.biz, they note here, Nintendo's purchase of Japanese CG production company Dynamo Pictures has been completed. And they note some stuff here. Dynamo Pictures previously provided animation work for titles such as Persona 5, Final Fantasy 13-2, and Metroid Other M. So two of those, well, I guess all three of them had pretty good CG in it at least, although anything Final Fantasy 13 related I'm not interested in really. I think the most important thing, the reason why I brought this news article here, is going forward it will focus on video production using Nintendo IP and providing motion capture services, which I can't really think of any Nintendo game that uses motion capture. So maybe this hints at more high fidelity, more graphics intensive Nintendo games, unless they're strictly providing motion capture for video production. But hopefully this extends to some of Nintendo's games actually as well. I would also not be surprised if it took until like the next iteration of Nintendo hardware, but whatever the case, I would definitely like some more graphics focused, higher quality games from Nintendo, higher quality on the graphics side. The gameplay is usually pretty solid, but the hardware is usually a generation behind even when it first comes out. And that about wraps it up here. So once again, thanks for watching Games X Affinity. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave some creative criticism, constructive criticism for me as far as like the video length or what you'd like to see moving forward. And take care.